Have you ever heard of divorce papers being filed without your consent? I had, but I never thought it would happen to me. I was relieved I divorced someone with no money and sick, until I received such an email while hospitalized from the stress of my husband's infidelity. That email shattered my hopes. As soon as I was discharged, I took what I had in hand and went straight to the bank, determined to make my former husband, an elite bank employee, pay for his betrayal. My name is Courtney, a handmade artist. I was married to Tom for 6 years. We met as colleagues at the bank and were happy together, but things changed in the last 6 months. Tom started coming home late and became glued to his phone. He used to talk inside the house, but then he began going out to his car for calls. Suspecting an affair, I hired a detective agency after much deliberation. It cost some money, but I thought it was worth it for peace of mind. A month after hiring the agency, I found out about Tom's affair. His lover was Michelle, a teller at the same bank. The report included photos of them entering a hotel, kissing on the street, and enjoying meals together. Despite the evidence, I couldn't give up on Tom. I believed his affair was a moment of folly and that he would return to me. I changed my hairstyle, put on makeup, cooked with more effort, and always smiled, but all my efforts went unnoticed. Tom stopped touching his food, which increased my stress. I had resolved not to confront him, but seeing him happily leave the house on the phone every day made it impossible to hold back. You seem busy lately, getting a lot of calls. Is work so demanding that you need to handle it even after you come home? Yeah, he replied. You quit the bank to marry me after working there for about 2 years, right? You might not understand, but it's a busy season now. It's easy for you, isn't it? No busy season, no earnings, just a leisurely life as a handmade artist. Tom laughed in a way that mocked me. The Tom I knew would never have said such things about my work or laughed at me like that. He used to praise my pieces and support me through late-night work sessions. You don't have to say it like that. I might not be as busy as you, but I take my work seriously. I'm not living leisurely at all. I don't know how much you're earning, but it's definitely less than me, right? I'm paying half of everything, rent, utilities, living expenses, so you can live. It's tough being a woman with no earning power. You wouldn't survive if I divorced you. What kind of thing is that to say? I make enough to cover my share, but that's not the point right now. Do you want to divorce me? Unable to control myself after hearing the word divorce from Tom, I started crying uncontrollably. Tom sighed, annoyed, and left the living room, telling me not to cry over every little thing. Tom's attitude towards me grew colder. The next day, he completely ignored me, not even meeting my gaze. Despite the situation, I kept wondering how we could return to being the happy couple we once were. The immense stress led to sleepless nights and spontaneous tears. Unable to bear it alone, I met with my high school friend Sophia for advice. Sophia, still single, was a successful career woman. Tearfully, I shared my feelings with her, feelings I couldn't share with anyone else. Tom is completely infatuated with Michelle. He comes home later and later. I don't know what to do anymore. Do you still love your husband, Courtney? Do you want to get back to how things were before? Sophia asked. I honestly expressed my feelings. It's stupid, but I still love him. I don't want to give up, but everything is so hard. Just then, I started coughing violently and bent over. I've had asthma since before, and it had worsened due to the stress from my relationship with Tom. I took out my inhaler, but I was coughing so much that I couldn't inhale at all. The relentless coughing made me suffer unbearably. Unable to remain seated, I collapsed onto the floor. Courtney, are you okay? Please, someone call an ambulance. Sophia called out desperately, but I couldn't respond and lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Courtney, thank goodness you're awake. Are you okay? Can you understand me? When I looked toward the voice, I saw Sophia with tears in her eyes. Attempting to speak cautiously, I managed to utter, thanks, despite coughing. Sophia nodded while crying and immediately pressed the nurse call button. The attending doctor arrived and explained that due to the severity of my asthma symptoms, I would need to be hospitalized for about a week. With nothing prepared for a sudden hospitalization, Sophia bought me a hospital admission set from the shop and filled out the necessary paperwork. I tried to inform my husband about my hospitalization, but couldn't reach him. Sophia tried calling Tom's cell phone, but he didn't answer. Considering contacting my workplace, I hesitated, fearing their reaction. Eventually, Sophia helped me draft an email, which she sent on my behalf. Sophia stayed until the end of visiting hours and then left. I drifted in and out of sleep due to the medication, constantly checking for any messages from Tom. The first message from him came at 1:00 a.m. If you're hospitalized, there's nothing I can do. I'm busy with work, so I won't visit you. Upon reading that email, I felt truly sad, hurt, and miserable. It wasn't just that Tom said he couldn't come because he was busy, but that he wouldn't come at all. This made it clear to me that he no longer had any love for me. I thought I shouldn't cry, but tears came uncontrollably. I didn't reply to the email and just cried until morning. 2 days passed. Tom didn't visit, but Sophia diligently showed up after work. "That's great, you look a bit better. Are you able to eat? I brought your favorite novel." Sophia's lively visits and smiles saved me. I can't thank her enough. "Thank you, Sophia. I'm feeling quite good today. My cough has settled down a lot." The doctor said he might discharge me in about 2 more days. Sophia was really happy and started planning for us to go out and eat something healthy after my discharge. As Sophia and I were discussing where to go, I received an email notification. The subject line read, "Glad I divorced a broke, sick person." Reading the email from Tom over and over, I couldn't understand its meaning and just froze with my phone in hand, my heart racing and my mind in turmoil. You don't earn much, do you? Falling sick without doing any serious work. Don't make me laugh. Wife lottery, a big failure, so I filed for divorce. Take care. Seeing the follow-up email, I laughed unconsciously. It felt like a farce, getting divorced by Tom while hospitalized for asthma. Tears came along with the laughter, and I found myself crying and laughing at the same time. Seeing me like that, Sophia shook my shoulders in a panic. "Courtney, what happened? Are you okay?" I handed my phone to Sophia, showing her the emails from Tom. As she read the messages, Sophia's face turned red with anger. "Look, Courtney, I know you love your husband, and I didn't want to say anything, but maybe it's time to let go." I understood what Sophia meant. Even though she started crying from the emotion, she managed to put her words together. "Just divorce him, Courtney. You need to take care of yourself, no matter how much you love him. Sorry to be blunt, but you can't be happy with such a shitty man." Sophia looked sorry, knowing it was not her place to meddle in marital affairs, but I smiled back at her. "It's okay, really. I knew deep down that it was impossible to continue, but I lacked the courage to divorce. I always looked away, but it's over now. I'll divorce Tom." When Tom brought up divorce, I was afraid of the separation. I still loved Tom and was scared of how others would react to our divorce. But once I made the decision myself, the fear of divorcing somehow disappeared. I think it's because I could finally think clearly enough to say, "Let's give up. That's the way to go. Let's enjoy being single again together." Yeah, I feel so much better. Thank you, Sophia. Having you here, I'm really grateful. "Courtney, you're my precious friend, of course. But wait, how did he manage to file for divorce without your signature?" Sophia's anger flared up again. I explained, "When we got married, we prepared divorce papers just in case. It was silly, but we agreed to try to talk through anything and overcome any crisis as a couple." "Well, that didn't work out, did it?" I could laugh about it, but Sophia didn't seem amused. In disbelief, she said, "I see, so he just pulled those out, filled in his part, and submitted them. It might not be a forgery, but it's still appalling." I was afraid of being divorced by Tom in such a state, so I had hidden them in the room. He probably found them and submitted them. Now I'm actually glad he did it. I couldn't decide to divorce Tom because I still loved him, but now it's different. As Tom's feelings for me have vanished, so have mine for him. I'm not foolish enough to keep loving someone who does this to me. Tom still sent one-sided messages. "You probably don't have any property, and I don't want to give you any of my money, so we're not dividing any assets. The house is in my name, so get out. I'm being kind by giving you until the end of the month. I don't want to bump into you, so I won't return until after the month is over. Make sure you clean the room before you leave." Honestly, at this point, I was in a "what is this guy even thinking" state, and the sheer selfishness made me laugh again. I showed the email to Sophia, laughing. "Look, Sophia, now I've lost the house too. What should I do? Going back to my parents is too far. I had no intention of staying in that house, and there were my valuable handmade parts to consider. Transporting them would probably fill an entire room. The right size, security, rent. Could I find a perfect place that quickly?" While I was pondering, Sophia smiled. "Have you forgotten where your best friend works? Don't worry, dear customer, I'll find the perfect room for you." "Sorry, I really forgot." "That's right, Sophia, please help me." I thanked Sophia. Sophia worked in real estate and was a pro at finding places. I decided to leave everything to Sophia, a capable woman. She brought various property listings to my hospital bed, spreading them out and explaining each one to me. By the time I was discharged, we had managed to find a place close to my preferences, which was a relief. However, I needed certain documents that I couldn't get until after my discharge, so I decided to stay at Sophia's place in the meantime. "I'm really sorry I keep causing you trouble," I said. "It's okay," Sophia reassured me. "I've got good sales, right? I've been here second longest after the manager. Sorry, rental agreements take time because there's a lot of paperwork and an inspection process. You can stay at my place as long as you need until everything is settled." Thank you so much. If there's anything I can do, just let me know. Just take care of yourself for now. Let's take it easy. So, how have things been? Any more contact from your ex-husband? No, not a single word from him. After all, we're strangers now. I do get messages from people from our bank days, though. Apparently, I was branded as a terrible wife. It seems that my ex-husband Tom reported our divorce at his workplace and blamed me for it. He told people I didn't do housework, didn't contribute financially to the household, and yet splurged on my hobbies. He said that any attempt at discussion would end with me getting hysterical and uncontrollable. It's laughable at this point. Who does he think he is to say that? I'd love to remind him who was the one cheating. Sophia seemed to have reached a point where all she could do was laugh. So, what's your plan? You're not going to let this end here, are you? Courtney, what are you going to do? Grinning mischievously, Sophia looked at me, and I couldn't help but smile back. There was no way I was going to let this end here. Tom had his turn doing whatever he pleased, but now it was my turn. Of course I have no intention of holding back against a man without sincerity and a woman who meddles with a married man. I have quite a few things in mind, so look forward to it. Just you wait, both of you. Enjoy your peaceful newlywed life while you can. 2 days after my successful discharge, Sophia drove me straight to the bank where my ex-husband Tom and his new wife Michelle worked. Upon entering the bank, I saw Tom in the back. It had been a while since I last saw him, about a month and a half. I was hospitalized when he filed for divorce. I thought I would be furious seeing him, but I wasn't. I looked for Michelle at the counter, and there she was, sitting with a composed face, the woman who had taken my husband away. I took a number and waited for my turn. Fortunately, I was called to Michelle's counter. She greeted me with a welcome, and I responded with a smile. Hello, I'm sorry to bother you, but I'd like to cancel a bank account. Certainly, is it just one account you wish to cancel? Here we go. I took a deep breath and projected my voice. No, not just one. I'm here to cancel accounts for all 800 employees of my company. The counter buzzed with whispers at my declaration. Tom looked over, shocked at what he saw. He seemed to want to say something, his mouth opening and closing. All 800 accounts. Michelle was flustered at the counter, and I couldn't help but feel a surge of laughter. Canceling 800 salary accounts would be a significant loss for the bank. It's not just about losing deposits. With interest rates being low, banks count on transaction fees and salary transfer fees for their profits. Losing that is a big deal. Yes, all of them. Please proceed. As I handed over the corporate account documents, I made my request. What the hell are you doing, Courtney? Did you just say something about a company? 800 employees? What's that about? Tom approached the counter, causing a stir among the other customers in the bank. Oh, long time no see. How have you been? I said calmly. What do you mean? It's exactly as I said. I've been a company president even when I was married to you. It's a handmade business, so I'm both an artist and a president. I spoke the truth at the counter. You were a president. I didn't know that. You never said anything about that when we were married, did you? No, I didn't. You used to mock me for being a failing handmade artist, right? I earn more than you do. I didn't want to hurt your pride, so I kept it to myself. Michelle, who had no idea who I was, looked at me in shock. She whispered softly, wondering if I was really the person she thought I was. Hello, I'm his ex-wife. Please proceed with the cancellation quickly. Tom and Michelle were frozen, not knowing how to react to the unexpected situation. Then I heard a familiar voice. Miss Courtney, it's been a while. You seem well. There stood Mr. Johnson, my boss before. When I married Tom, he was a strict person, and many of my peers found him difficult. But I liked him. He was as strict with himself as he was with others. When I got married to Tom, Mr. Johnson tearfully wished me happiness. Mr. Johnson, it's been too long. You look well, I said, momentarily forgetting why I was there, happy to see Mr. Johnson. Yes, I'm doing well. Tom told me about the divorce, and I've been worried about you. It seems you've been through a lot. How about we talk in the back room while we wait? Of course, these two and I will be there, I said, glancing at Tom and Michelle. Mr. Johnson's gaze was sharp, likely because of my divorce and Tom's remarriage to Michelle. Their faces, which were red a moment ago, turned pale. They seemed to be having a busy day, changing colors like that. I don't mind at all. I'd love to catch up with you, Mr. Johnson. Great. Let's go to the reception room on the 3rd floor. You two, come along, he said. We headed to the 3rd floor where the customer reception room was located. Mr. Johnson opened the door for us, and we entered and took our seats. It's really been a long time, Mr. Johnson. I feel regret for meeting under these circumstances. I spoke honestly, and Mr. Johnson smiled back. No worries. I was surprised by the situation, but I'm glad to see you're doing well. I was shocked to hear about the divorce from him, and even more so about his quick remarriage. Mr. Johnson glanced at Michelle and continued, "And I don't believe the divorce was your fault, as he claimed." "Wait a minute, Mr. Johnson. Are you implying that we're to blame?" Tom interjected. "Is that not the case? If I'm wrong, I apologize. But you see, I've known Courtney for several years. She was always organized, the most meticulous when it came to cleaning. And if I recall correctly, she used to bring homemade lunches every day, right?" Mr. Johnson's precise recollection of these details made me feel appreciated for my efforts. Not doing housework, not contributing financially to the household, but spending on hobbies and becoming hysterical during discussions. That's what you've been spreading around as the reason for divorce. But Courtney is not like that. Hearing Mr. Johnson defend me so firmly brought tears to my eyes. It felt overwhelming to have someone who understood, but that's the truth. Tom insisted, "You only know her from a work perspective, and you might suspect we had an inappropriate relationship, but that's not true." "Yes, that's right. I never cheated," Michelle added. I just couldn't stand seeing Tom so down after his divorce, and while I was cheering him up, he proposed. Michelle said, tears streaming down her face like a tragic heroine. Their blatant lies in front of Mr. Johnson were infuriating. Ridiculous. I was the one who was hurt. I took a document about the thickness of a notebook from my bag. "Would you like to see this, Mr. Johnson? You two can look as well." "Oh, but perhaps there's no need. You're probably well aware of what's in it." I handed over the investigation report from the detective agency to Mr. Johnson. He took it, smoothly dodging Michelle's attempt to grab it with a scream. "Sit down and be quiet," Mr. Johnson commanded sternly. Michelle shrieked and clung to Tom. "What is this? You said your wife was too stupid to notice anything." "This is not what you told me," Michelle exclaimed. "It's not like that. She really is stupid. I never thought she would do something like this," Tom stammered. "Calling people stupid too much, aren't you?" I was about to retort when Mr. Johnson's furious shout exploded. "The idiots here are you two. Cheating on your wife, Tom, and you, Michelle, getting involved with a married man and playing the victim. You two are the offenders and Courtney is the victim." "Thank you for saying everything I wanted to say. It feels refreshing. But may I add something?" "Of course, say it. I won't stop you," Mr. Johnson replied, his strong support empowering me. He nodded at me vigorously and began reading the report with intense focus, his frown deepening. "You called me stupid, but do you think a stupid person can run a company? It turns out you were the one with the lesser income. How much was your salary again?" $100,000. That's plenty." Tom was so proud of his $100,000 salary, which seemed hilarious to me. Michelle nodded along, seemingly proud as well. "Is that so? Well, it's not bad, but mine is $400,000. I have 800 employees and it's only our 4th year in business." "The handmade business you look down on. I started a company with my friends. $400,000. $400,000. Tom and Michelle's faces were priceless. The information that the person they underestimated was actually a company president earning $400,000 was too much for them. "Yes, business is booming, so we're planning to hire more staff. I thought it would be beneficial to have our employee accounts with your bank, but there's no need to be considerate anymore. So I'm canceling them all." "Wait, just wait a minute. If you cancel, the bank's deposits will decrease. Having salary accounts means potential for housing mortgages and such. It's a big loss for the bank if you cancel," Tom stammered, seemingly forgetting that I used to be a bank employee and that this was basic knowledge for anyone in the field. "Yes, I'm aware. It's basic knowledge for a bank employee, isn't it? Are you underestimating me? Why should I be considerate of an ex-husband who cheated and filed for divorce while his wife was hospitalized with asthma? And these two seem to forget something crucial. I made sure to remind them, and you had an affair within the bank. Do you really think you can continue on the elite path as if nothing happened? You too, Michelle?" By the time I looked at Michelle, she had already started crying. Tom, looking down in frustration, suddenly prostrated himself. "Please, I'm sorry. Forgive me. It was just a fling, you understand, right? She came on to me strongly, and well, I just went along with it." Michelle screamed at Tom's words. "What do you mean by that? Am I the one to blame? You're the one who said there was no love left for your wife, that things weren't working out." Michelle clung to and shook Tom. The drama unfolding before me was so cheap that I couldn't help but laugh. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Are you kidding me? What value does such a prostration hold, especially when you have no value to begin with? Mr. Johnson took over, his voice dripping with disdain. "Exactly. Having seen incontrovertible evidence, I'll make sure you are punished accordingly. Your affair has led to the bank suffering the disadvantage of a mass account cancellation. You seem well aware of the disadvantages of account cancellations, so I assume you have no objections to the punishment. As Mr. Johnson posed the question, Tom could only hang his head low while Michelle cried out loud. I wish they would stop playing the victims until the very end. Leaving their fate in Mr. Johnson's hands, I left the room. By the time our conversation ended, the account cancellations had been completed, and I left the bank feeling refreshed. Later, Mr. Johnson informed me that both had been dismissed for their misconduct. Their affair had resulted in a significant loss of accounts for the bank, which was deemed to have a substantial negative impact. Unemployed, the two struggled to find work, unable to pay their apartment's mortgage, and were turned down when asking friends for money. Interestingly, Tom kept sending me messages and emails begging for reconciliation after divorcing Michelle, all of which I ignored. The laughably pathetic emails were forwarded to Sophia, and we enjoyed a good laugh. I also filed for compensation through a lawyer. Tom had the audacity to claim that since I started my company after our marriage, its assets should be divided between us. Unfortunately for him, the assets in the company's name are exempt from division. I thought divorce would be difficult, but working hard post-divorce has made me realize how happy I am. I even wish I had divorced sooner. Humans are strange creatures. With plenty of money to spend freely and no grievances, I've decided to live my life valuing myself more from now on.